Hey everyone, Kim Levinsky here for the next update of the Tahoe 200 journey for 2022. This is update number 3. Today is Monday, April 25th, and I just got back from Bedford, Virginia for the Promised Land 50K plus put on by Extreme Ultra Running, and the race director was Dr. David Horton. 2 thumbs up for this event. I had a really great time. Like I mentioned in the last update, it's been a long time since I've been a participant in an ultra marathon, so an official one at least. Everything I've been doing has been self-supported. So the last race that I did was in 2019, the 12-hour labor pains in Pennsylvania. So this was really fun to be back in the race setting and to not be in charge as well. It was fun to be a participant. But yeah, really highly recommend the race. So many positives. The course was very well marked. The volunteers were fantastic. Aid stations were great. Really nice variety of food and hydration to choose from. And the course, I love the course. There was so much climbing. There were a couple 2,000 or 2,500 foot climbs, and the total elevation had a gain of around 7,500, which was fantastic training for Tahoe. And it was just as described from my friends who gave me the heads up that the trails were not technical like we have up here on the East Coast. So that was also really nice, not to be worrying about like breaking your face on some rocks like we have up here. So it was really nice. And I feel like I really wasn't that beat up after the race too, because the trails weren't that technical. So I really enjoyed it. I had a good time. I got to see my college teammate, Laura Candy. We've known each other since playing college ball back in the day, and now she's my Tahoe 200 teammate. She's coming to Tahoe to pace and crew, and I got to meet all of her Virginia friends as well who do a lot of ultra running together. So 2 thumbs up for the race. I think the biggest challenge was probably the heat. I did really well on all the climbing. I felt like I was moving really well. The heat, I think, was challenging for everybody. Even people who live in Virginia, I think it was challenging because it was warm. It was in the mid-80s on Saturday. So thanks, but I have to say thanks to the training from Tahoe last summer, where it was either, a heat index of literally 100 to 105 with the humidity that we have in New Jersey, or like monsooning. There was a lot of first of all, mental toughness that was gained from last summer, but then also some really good strategies for dealing with the heat. And so I think the 2 strategies that came into play on Saturday that really worked well was hydration for sure. And this was something Dina helped me with last summer, was trying to get ahead of the heat with Friday night doing some scratch in the evening, and then Saturday before the race, I used a liquid IV packet, and that seemed to really help staying ahead of hydration. And the other strategy that I picked up last summer was just every opportunity to dunk my head in water. That's what I did. So I'm sure I look like a loony if you were at Promised Land and you saw who's that lady sticking her head in water again? That was me. I probably did it over a dozen times, and that was a nice thing about the course, was that there was either rivers or waterfalls pretty much the entire time. So anytime I spotted water, and this started just a couple hours into the race, I used my reusable cup and just scooped the water, kept dumping until the mark that I use, the level of okay, we're good now, is when I get brain freeze, because the water was so cold in the river, and I just kept soaking my head until I had brain freeze, and I was like, okay, we keep going. So even though it slowed me down to stop, I felt like I was able to continue moving strong the whole day, especially on the really big climb at the end. So there was definitely a lot of carnage on the course. I saw, other people were overheating and they were trying to just cool down by getting in the river. I came across a young guy who was way overheated and stayed with him for a little bit and helped him, dude, you got to get in the river, you got to start doing electrolytes and all that stuff. So I think the heat was probably the biggest challenge for everybody who was out there. All right, let me show you a couple clips from the day. I hope you enjoy it. Live at the Promised Land.
Woo! Oh gosh, hi.
It's gonna be good.
I don't need this.
Operation Save the Quads.
Okay, so I just did something I've never done before in my whole life. Trying to open a spring gel with my mouth. You know, you try to tear. The whole thing squirted in my eye. Awesome sauce. All in my eye. Oh, we gotta keep it real. Keep it real, people.
So let me think. Oh, I did want to mention that I used the foot care routine that I talked about in the last update. So I'm going to walk you through that real quick. Again, this was learned in the Women's 100 Mile Project Facebook group. So they are a fantastic resource. I've learned a lot from them. So this is what I did pre-race. I didn't end up doing this at any point during the race because everything was going pretty well. But this is what I used before the race. Okay, so in the foot care packet, it's in a Ziploc. The first thing you do is you take out the wipes and you wipe your feet, clean them off so everything is good to go. And then you use a gel form of hand sanitizer and you wipe that all over your feet. So the idea is to like suck out any moisture that is there. And then you use the secret sauce, which is the Musher's Secret, which I talked about last week. I didn't show you the tub though because I couldn't find it. So here it is. This is it, and if you open it up, it's like a clear cream almost. It kind of has the consistency of like Neosporin a little bit. But yeah, you're supposed to put that all over your feet. So I tried this a couple times the week before, and I found that when I put the Musher Secret all over my feet, like the ladies demonstrated in their tutorial, I felt like my feet were really sliding around in my socks, and I did not like that. I didn't like that feeling. So what I ended up doing is just putting it on the trouble spots that I've had in the past, which is kind of like the forefront of the foot and then on the side of the big toes and the tops of the toes in between the toes. So I will preface this by saying that I have typically consistently usually do not have any issues with blisters. I think the one time I can remember I had very bad blisters was the first 50 miler I did way back when I first started running. I think it was like 2013, and I just made like all the rookie mistakes. I had on like brand new socks. The shoes were old. My feet had gotten wet. I didn't change anything, so that was my fault for the blisters. But I'm thankful that I don't have like recurring problems with blisters. So, in my opinion, this strategy worked well for me. The issue that I've had in the past is I feel like when I'm out there for a long time, like the 100 mile that I did in the fall, the feeling I have in my feet is it's almost like a friction burn almost. Like it feels like there's blisters forming underneath the calluses. Even though I can't see anything, when I look at my feet afterwards, it's very unpleasant. It doesn't feel good. So that's the reason why I'm trying the Musher's Secret. And I'm assuming, Tahoe being out there for a few days, there's going to be foot issues. So I'm going to say my first time using it in a race setting, it worked very well. But I'm not sure if that's because the variable of the really technical trails that we have up here on the East Coast was taken out, and I was on smooth trails for Virginia. So time will tell. But so far I like it. I'm going to continue using it. I'm excited to try it on a couple multi-day weekends I'm eyeing up in May, and to try this like mid-run to do the whole sock change and everything during the day. So we'll see how that pans out. So that's kind of the recap on the race on Saturday. So Saturday night, I maybe foolishly decided I wanted to drive back to Jersey to get in a training day with friends on Sunday. So I made it about like 5 or 6 hours into the drive, and then I couldn't keep my eyes open. So pulled off and slept, and then made it to New Jersey on Sunday morning. Met up with some friends, and we ran at the South Mountain Reservation for a couple hours. So all in all, it was a really solid back-to-back weekend. Yeah, and going into weekend, for sure, if I'm being honest, I was a little anxious about it, not knowing like how's the knee going to hold up with all this elevation, because this was really the first true test of all the PT and strength work that I've been doing the last couple months. But man, it went really well. I didn't have any knee issues, and there was for sure a lot of climbing on Saturday and a lot of descending. So that was a big thing. I've always felt very strong on the climbs, and my knee hasn't bothered me climbing, but it's the downhills this fall that were just so unpleasant. But this race ended with like a 2,000 foot descent over a few miles, and I was running hard. at the end down that hill. So Chris, you the man. Thank you so much for all your help with the PT, and looking forward to continuing the strength work through Tahoe. So that was a really big confidence boost. So training stats for last week, for any of you interested, I like to keep an eye on it. I'm not like super fixated on stats, but I have been trying to keep an eye on mileage and elevation just to try to keep everything in check, and then bouncing it off of PT Chris, seeing what he's thinking for the week. And then my two friends, Robin and Dina, are a little bit of accountability partners for the training that I'm doing. So last week finished up, checking my phone here, about 78 miles and elevation gain of about 11,400 feet. And I got in 2 solid strength training workouts on Tuesday and Thursday of last week as well. So again, I think I mentioned it, I can't remember if I did in the first one, but the stats that I'm keeping are both hiking and running combined, because that's what Tahoe's going to be. So all in all, it was a really good training weekend. It was very fun to do the race. Looking ahead to next week, going to be starting a new block of strength training with Chris, the PT. So we're going to continue doing 1 day of heavy strength training, and then the second day of heavy strength is going to be swapped out with a power workout, which I'm excited to do because I haven't done stuff like that in a long time. So it's going to be things like box jumps and lateral jumps, broad jumps, a lot of like jumping exercises for plyometrics. So I'm excited to do that. And I think next weekend I'm going to venture out to the Mohonk Preserve up in New York by New Paltz to check out some new trails up there. So I'm excited about it. Thanks for tuning in, and I will do an update after next weekend.